shops, stores that have been selling tobacco products are not eligible to renew their tobacco sales permits in 2020 due to repeated violations of city regulations against selling tobacco products to minors. This number represents 6% of tobacco sales permits in Philadelphia. Many of the stores that are uh, losing their permits are concentrated in poor minority neighborhoods in North, West, and Southwest Philadelphia. Um, Health Commissioner Thomas Farley said the number one killer in Philadelphia continues to be tobacco. Many people suffering from tobacco addiction got hooked when a share, uh, when a store clerk flouted the law and sold a child a pack of cigarettes, cigarillos, or an e-cigarette. Stores that repeatedly sell tobacco products to kids are a clear danger to our neighborhoods. Today's announcement, actually it was yesterday's announcement, shows that we are taking this danger seriously and protecting Philadelphia's kids. The health department conducts random compliance checks by sending teenagers into stores to ask to buy tobacco. If the teenager successfully buys a tobacco product, the health department issues a ticket and provides education to the establishment's owner about the city's tobacco youth sales laws and the consequences of violations, which include the potential loss of the store's tobacco sales privileges. Um, the new regulations that stores that sell to minors will lose their license are three or more times in 2 years will not be eligible to renew their sales permits. So if they violate the law two or three times, um, three or more times, they will lose their license to sell tobacco. So that's an important regulation. It would prevent, hopefully, teenagers from becoming hooked on tobacco. So we are expecting our friend Iris to join us. Um, so we are uh, also looking at national news. Sorry, Trump opts not to escalate military crisis with Iran. He threatens economic sanctions instead. El señor Trump escoge no escalar la crisis militar con Irán y amenaza con sanciones económicas. Más bien, Iran appears to be standing down. That's what Trump said. Mm, Many nations have tolerated Iran's destabilizing behavior. We continue to evaluate actions. We will immediately implement economic sanctions. Today, I'm going to ask NATO to get more involved in the Middle East. Well, that's a problem, not because Mr. Trump has attacked NATO. He attacked them from the start of his administration, saying they were not paying uh, enough money into the coffers of the alliance for security, and he alienated Germany and France, Italy, saying that the U.S. was carrying the bulk of the weight of this, sustaining the NATO troops and so on, and he demanded that Germany and France and Italy, all the countries, industrialized countries, that they should be contributing to NATO. Uh, he also alienated, as we know, Macron, recently at a meeting of European leaders and American leaders, and I believe it was the G20. Um, Mr. Trump continues to alienate leaders throughout the world. The only alliances he wants to maintain, apparently, is to Vladimir Putin, and he still thinks Kim Jong Un is his friend, even though the North Korean dictator has been testing long-range missiles that could eventually reach the United States. Uh, but Mr. Trump has other problems at hand. One of them is Iran. Because of that not well planned order to kill an Iranian general who is considered by Iranians a hero, uh, one of the top commanders in the ranks of Iran military. So he killed this General Soleimani, and his funeral was attended by millions of Iranians demanding death to America. So that's where we are right now with Iran. Iran also retaliated by attacking with missiles um, two bases in Iraq, where Iraqis and Americans are there to defend against the Islamic Caliphate, ISIS, and now Iran. In fact, Soleimani, the general that got killed, had been contributing to the effort to fight against ISIS. But Mr. Trump has not presented evidence that his government alleges they had about the Iranian general planning atrocities against American troops and American installations. We don't know what kind of threats were made because the administration has not provided any evidence. Congress is demanding that he provide proof. And Senators Mike Lee and Rand Paul reacted to a briefing by the Trump administration regarding the Iranian crisis. They were trying to explain, to brief the senators about the reasons for the killing of Soleimani. But as they exited the briefing, Senator Mike Lee, Republican of Utah, said the worst briefing I have seen in my 9 years as a senator. He's a senator, Republican senator from Utah. He's a libertarian-leaning Republican, but he has defended Trump on other occasions. But he was extremely unhappy with the briefing by Trump administration in reference to the Iranian crisis. Also, Rand Paul, Republican of Kentucky, called it patronizing, insulting, and demeaning. And both will back a resolution introduced by Senator Tim Kaine to limit presidential war powers. Well, that's important in the context of what Trump just did, ordering the killing of this general, because the administration tried to use an act that was issued in 2002, 2003 for President George W. Bush And that is what enabled Bush to attack Iraq and unseat and killed eventually um, Hussein. Um, so, some senators, that was ridiculous, it was absurd to use a law that was approved for a different action and that the administration could not use it at this point. As usual, there were people on the side of Trump, the usual suspects. One of them continues to embarrass any Hispanic who gave him support. Senator Marco Rubio said national security officials gave a compelling briefing to senators just now. They answered every important question. Lindsey Graham, another one, a senator with no spine. Nobody knows why he has sold his soul to the devil. He he has become a bigger, a more devout supporter of Trump uh, after the death of what was supposed to be his best friend, one of his best friends in the Senate, John McCain uh, from Arizona, who Trump insulted, saying that he was not a hero because he had been captured, and the only heroes that he believes in are those who are not captured by the enemy. And as we know, McCain spent uh, more than 5 years in a Vietnamese prison. Lindsey Graham, since then, has gone in the opposite direction. McCain was always a maverick and a challenger for Trump. Lindsey Graham has turned out to be one of Trump's best friends in the Senate. He has supported Moscow Mitch McConnell, who has said that the trial in the Senate, the outcome is already um, decided, that Mr. Trump is going to be found innocent if there is a trial in the Senate. But as we know, Nancy Pelosi has not submitted the 2 articles of impeachment. And so the one problem they have right now is that some Democratic senators have joined Republicans complaining about the fact that the articles have not been delivered, and therefore they cannot start a trial. Bueno, amigos, hemos llegado al final de este segmento aquí en USA la Media, la mesa redonda. Les habla Fernando Méndez, Nile Jacks at the board. Regresamos en un momento.
$150 over 90.
180 over 111.
160 over 110. I had a stroke.
This is what high blood pressure looks like. You might not feel its symptoms, but the results from a stroke are far from invisible or silent. If you've come off your treatment plan, get back on it, or talk with your doctor to create an exercise, diet, and medication plan that works for you. Go to loweryourhbp.org.
If I would have followed a treatment plan, I would not be in this situation.
What do you think you're doing, Kevin?
Was just gonna drive home.
There are several warning signs present that you shouldn't be driving.
Like hearing voices?
Like your text-to-emoji ratio?
Oh man, the selfies.
Selfie nailed it.
We all have warning signs that let us know that we're probably not okay to drive. Mine is pretending to be your subconscious.
Greg, come on man, let's split a ride home.
Señores oyentes de USA La Media, estamos aquí de nuevo con su programa La Mesa Redonda de Round Table desde el corazón del barrio hispano en la ciudad del amor fraternal. Les habla Fernando Méndez en compañía de Nile Jax. Todavía esperando la llamada de nuestro colega Iris Violeta, que nos está llamando desde Virginia. Pero según ella, according to Iris, Niall, according to Iris, there is a message that our program has not started. I don't know where she found that program, but anyway, so maybe there is something we can do to inform her that we are on the air. Yeah. So I don't understand. Could be, it could be a problem over there with her technology. But anyway, so here we are. We're talking about this outrageous briefing that the Trump administration gave senators, and the fact that two Republicans, two of them, there must be others to be certain, but Mike Lee, Republican from Utah, and Rand Paul, Republican of Kentucky, they complain about the briefing and calling it patronizing, insulting, demeaning, the worst thing I've had in my 9 years in relation to a briefing on military matters. That was Mike Lee. And Marco Rubio and Lindsey Graham, the two usual suspects defending Mr. Trump, defending his actions. On top of that, there is another Republican lawmaker who said that this is the Representative Douglas Collins from Georgia. I'm sure you have heard his voice. I'm sorry, he has one of those accents that is very hard to listen to. And he, I think he emphasizes the accent when he spoke during the hearings. Anyway, he complained about the fact that the House was considering limiting Trump's ability to take military action against Iran. Representative Collins accused Democrats of being in love with terrorists. Collins' comments Wednesday reflected what's become a talking point among Trump supporters in the wake of the U.S. drone attack that killed Major General Qasem Soleimani, the head of Iran's elite Quds force, blamed for the deaths of more than 600 coalition soldiers in Iraq. They are in love with terrorists, Collins said of Democrats on Fox Business Network. And that is very strong accusation against Democrats. So, needless to say, that provoked a reaction. He made that statement on Lou Dobbs Tonight. We see that they mourn Soleimani more than they mourn our Gold Star families, who are the ones who suffered under Soleimani. That is a problem. The remark from Collins drew rebukes online from critics who pointed out how a similar line of attack against Democrats skeptical of the president's actions were used by Trump's more notable surrogates, including the former ambassador to the UN, Nikki Haley. She is surprising people with her uh, blind allegiance to Trump. Maybe in gratitude for having been named U.S. UN ambassador. Um, but anyway, many people thought that if Pence was fired by Trump, that Nikki Haley could have been the replacement. But apparently now that she has lost a lot of that prestige that she created while representing the United States at the United Nations. And more, she seems to be lining up with Trump in the White House and along the lines of Kellyanne Conway, who created this alternate reality that the Trump administration apparently they rely on that alternate reality for everything they do. Nothing is true unless they say it, unless it comes from the White House, unless it comes from one of Trump's tweeters. The remark from Collins that caused such rebuke was repeated by Haley and by Kellyanne Conway. The theme was deployed by Trump booster Senator Lindsey Graham on Wednesday against Republican Senators Mike Lee and Rand Paul after they criticized the administration's briefing to members of Congress as lame, adding that they would support a war powers resolution from Senator Tim Kaine, ordering the removal of forces engaged in hostilities against Iran, which could come up for a vote early next week. Whether you mean it or not, you are empowering the enemy, said Lindsey Graham. And was a comment described by Rand Paul as a low gutter type of response. But we have come to expect that from Lindsey Graham. Apparently, his ethical lapses that enable him to support this president have led him to really blind allegiance to Donald Trump. Hours after Trump indicated that he would not respond militarily to Iran launching more than a dozen ballistic missiles at 2 U.S. military bases in Iraq, Collins pushed a media strategy that has become repeated in recent days, painting Democrats as sympathetic to Iran. The Washington Post, Aaron Blake reported this week, this approach has played out despite many Democrats emphasizing that Soleimani won't be missed and questioning the wisdom behind the killing. Perhaps the most notable of these early punches was from Nikki Haley on Monday, who told Fox News, the host, Sean Hannity, that Democrats were mourning for Soleimani. One of the problems with this whole situation is that the administration has not given the senators or Congress or the public any credible explanation as to why Donald Trump ordered the killing of General Soleimani. That led to his burial, at which millions of people showed up, and there was a riot, and more than 50 people got killed, and hundreds more got injured. also that led to the attacks by Iran with missiles to bases in Iraq, where American soldiers and Iraqi soldiers fight against ISIS. So this is a pathetic explanation what they have provided. If that comes from the lips of senators who heard the evidence, that they consider it, Pompeo has been also spouting the same lines. They consider this lies and exaggerations and ridiculous pronouncements on the part of the White House. But this continues, and Judd Apatow made an appeal for Georgia residents to register to vote against Representative Collins this year. Preet Bharara, the former U.S. attorney from the Southern District of New York, who was ousted by Trump in 2017, called the congressman's words an abomination and pathetic, and urged people to contribute to whoever wins the Democratic nomination against Collins in November. So this is what is happening to a lot of these Republicans who are afraid to lose their jobs, and they continue to protect Mr. Trump. And the ultimate consequences for many of them is that they may lose the election because Trump may not have the coattails necessary to carry the day for them. Detractors stated Collins' mention of the treatment of Gold Star families, specifically in regard to Trump's criticism and feud with Zir Ghazala Khan, a Gold Star family whose Muslim American son, Human, died serving as an army captain in Iraq. We must remember how Trump offended that Muslim family. By early Thursday, a video of Collins' comments to Dobbs had been viewed by 1.5 million and made the ranking Republican on the House Judiciary Committee a trending topic on Twitter. So este señor Collins se ha desacreditado totalmente tratando de defender a Donald Trump, tratando de defender las acciones de Trump en cuanto a matar a este general iraní, Soleimani, y usando acusaciones no creíbles contra los demócratas, diciendo que ellos están enamorados de los terroristas. Como ya dijimos también, hay dos senadores que están quejándose de los informes proveídos por la Casa Blanca y no creen en lo que está informando la administración de Trump. Bueno, amigos, hemos llegado al final de este segmento aquí en USA la Media, la Mesa Redonda. Les habla Fernando Méndez, Niall Jax at the board, y estamos esperando a nuestra amiga Iris al otro lado de esta breve pausa. Regresamos en un momento.
What do you think you're doing, Kevin?
Was just gonna drive home.
There are several warning signs present that you shouldn't be driving.
Like hearing voices?
Like your text-to-emoji ratio?
Oh man, the selfies.
Selfie nailed it.
We all have warning signs that let us know that we're probably not okay to drive. Mine is pretending to be your subconscious.
Craig, come on, man. Let's split a ride home.
They call me Maxie, but I prefer tripod. I was your above-average four-legged homie, and then wham, bam, minivan. Some people pity me. Now that's lame. I still run, fetch, and swim. And the ladies love me. I'm the ultimate wingman. Just don't ask me to high five.
Our hearts are made stronger by how we treat others.
Put her there.
The light you share can impact those around you, but so can the darkness.
Later, twerps. Did Pete saying mean things bother ya?
So when you reach out to another person, take a moment to consider how they will feel and let your heart be the key to making a difference. Because of you, someone's entire day, year, or even life can change.
In every heart, there's hope.
Usa la media, estamos aquí de nuevo con su programa La Mesa Redonda de Round Table desde el corazón de Barrio Hispano en la ciudad del amor fraternal. Les habla Fernando Méndez. Now Jack's on the board, and we are now commenting on the earthquake in Puerto Rico. That blessed island, my God, how much can they suffer with the hurricanes that devastated the island. Even now, there are people who have not recovered from those hurricanes, and they still have the temporary blue carps in many dwellings. And now, on top of that, this earthquake that devastated the island one more time. 2/3 of the island are still without power. 2/3 of Puerto Rico is still without power, and a quarter is without running water after a series of earthquakes this week. 2/3 de Puerto Rico todavía no tienen electricidad, y una cuarta parte está sin agua después de una serie de temblores, de terremotos esta semana. Por lo menos una persona murió y 300 casas fueron destruidas en un terremoto de una magnitud de 6.4 y luego un 6.0 que le siguió a ese terremoto. Esto fue el lunes, es el más fuerte terremoto que ha golpeado la isla en 102 años. Miles de gentes han estado durmiendo afuera, en la intemperie, o en sus carros, temerosos de estar dentro de un edificio si llega otro terremoto que pueda causar que sus casas se derrumben. So at least one person died and 300 homes were destroyed in a 6.4 magnitude quake and 6.0 aftershock on Tuesday. It was the strongest quake to hit the island in 102 years. Thousands of people have since slept outside or in their cars, fearful of being indoors during another quake that could cause their homes to collapse. The south of the island was the hardest hit, with dozens of homes in towns including Yauco, Guayanica, Guayanilla collapsing on Tuesday. Governor Wanda Vasquez declared a state of emergency, activating the island's National Guard to help with recovery effort. The earthquake knocked out Puerto Rico's main generating facility, the Costa Sur plant, and damaged other infrastructure. Officials have said that the power is unlikely to be restored to the island 3 million population until the weekend, and it will take at least a year to repair the Costa Sur plant. Well, and they should not be expecting any help from Mr. Trump, who might show up to distribute paper towels as he did after the hurricanes that hit the island, and for which Mr. Trump didn't know he was supposed to be responsible for Puerto Rico. He doesn't think of Puerto Rico as part of the United States, I suppose. Tuesday's earthquake struck at 4:24 local time, just south of the Caribbean island, at a depth of 6 miles or 10 kilometers, according to the U.S. Geographical Survey, USGS. It was followed hours later by a 6.0 magnitude aftershock. A 73-year-old man in the southern city of Ponce was the only confirmed death. Well, we should wait because there might be further victims of this earthquake, because as we know, with the hurricane, the number of victims was also, actually it was never confirmed as to what it was. Initially, it was there was a tremendous undercount, and eventually it came up a lot higher than the initial numbers. 8 other people were injured, and Mayor Mayita Melendez said that the man died when a wall fell on him in his home. A day earlier, the island was shaken by a 5.8 magnitude quake that destroyed a popular tourist rock formation, damaged homes, and caused power cuts. So, this hurricane has completed the damage done by the hurricanes, and we could still have more damage to the island. Weather forecasts are not precise, but they are not optimistic. The USGS reported that these quakes were part of an ongoing series that began on the 28th of December and have caused hundreds of small tremors in the region. Puerto Rico, U.S. territory of about 3.2 million people, is located between the North America and Caribbean tectonic plates, making it vulnerable to earthquakes. Son estas placas tectónicas, es la fricción que ocurre cuando hay un movimiento de estas de estas capas tectónicas, y esto es la causa de muchos terremotos. The island is still recovering from Hurricane Maria, a Category 5 storm that devastated part of the Caribbean in September of 2017. In Puerto Rico alone, the hurricane is estimated to have killed 2,975 people and caused $100 billion in damage. And let's remember that there was a very slow reaction on the part of the national government, on the part of Mr. Trump and his government. And he was late in going to visit the island after the quake. Well, we have very little positive to say about Mr. Trump's reaction to Hurricane Maria, a Category 5 hurricane, because he's a man who doesn't believe in global warming. He's ignorant of his responsibilities regarding Puerto Rico and the Virgin Islands, which at some point we might recall that he said he had met the president of the Virgin Islands. The depth of his ignorance has no limit. A commentator said that in the most recent event, the killing of this Iranian general Soleimani, said that Mr. Trump probably didn't even know who this man was. It would not be surprising to find out that Mr. Trump just ordered the death of this general, the killing of this general, to distract us from the problems he has at home with the whole impeachment process that will continue into a trial in the Senate as soon as Nancy Pelosi submits the 2 articles of impeachment. Hemos llegado al final de este segmento aquí en USA la Media, la mesa redonda de Round Table. Les habla Fernando Méndez, Niall Jacks at the board. Regresamos en un momento.
Our hearts are made stronger by how we treat others.
What are they?
The light you share can impact those around you, but so can the darkness.
Later, twerps.
Shouldn't be driving.
Did Pete saying mean things bother you?
So when you reach out to another person, take a moment to consider how they will feel and let your heart be the key to making a difference. Because of you, someone's entire day, year, or even life can change.
In every heart, there's hope.
Come on, man, let's put a ride home.
Señores oyentes de USA la Media, estamos aquí de nuevo con su programa La Mesa Redonda. Les habla Fernando Méndez, Niall Jax a the board, y estamos esperando brevemente la llamada de Iris Violeta. Chocante la noticia de que la Corte le ha permitido al señor Trump usar 3.6 billones, con una B de burro, en construcción del muro. Millones de dólares que pertenecen para uso militar y van a ser usados para construir el muro que el señor Trump le había prometido a sus seguidores. Esto va en contra de la lógica. No sabemos quién este señor juez del quinto circuito de la Corte de Apelaciones, basado en Nueva Orleans, aprobó este gasto de dinero que pertenece al Departamento de Defensa. So this is a shocking development. A federal appeals court allowed the Trump administration to move forward with plans to use billions of dollars in military construction money to build a long-promised wall along the border with Mexico. The Fifth U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals, based in New Orleans, on Wednesday, granted the administration's request to stay the effect of recent lower court ruling from Texas that had blocked the spending. The $3.6 billion in U.S. Defense Department funds comprises a significant chunk of the money the Trump administration had intended to put forward border wall construction this year, with a goal of building about 500 miles of the wall by the end of 2020. This really goes to help Mr. Trump claim that that he kept his word to his followers, and he built a wall to stop the invasion of people from the south, from Guatemala, Honduras, El Salvador, and Mexico. Evidently, Mr. Trump can claim one more victory in the courts. The court's majority cited a Supreme Court order from July that allowed the Trump administration to move ahead with related plans to use military funds for border barrier construction. The majority also said the plaintiffs suing the Trump administration, the county of El Paso, Texas, and the advocacy group Border Network for Human Rights likely lacked standing to bring a lawsuit. President Trump declared a national emergency over border security in February of 2019, ordering government agencies to search for a total of $6.7 billion. So this ruling allows more than half of that amount to be used. Directed the Department of Defense to give that money to Mr. Trump. That is objectionable. That is our tax money. Our money is being redirected to fulfill a promise that he should not have made, to build a wall in the southern border. Well, the next item of news is something that has caused consternation in England. Prince Harry and Meghan Markle, royal family, is hurt because the couple has promised to begin a next chapter. The royal family is said to be hurt that the Duke and Duchess of Sussex announced that they will step back from their senior royal roles that they fulfill obligations that belong to the crown representing the Queen. Prince Harry and Meghan did not consult any senior royal about that decision while making the statement. Buckingham Palace was blindsided, said BBC royal correspondent Johnny Diamond, as talks about their future had begun but were in very early stages. And the Queen, needless to say, reacted, saying that this was too early to decide, and it was a discussion. It's a very complicated issue, said the Queen. In their statement on Wednesday, Harry and Meghan said they made the decision after many months of reflection and internal discussions. So this whole crisis reminds many people of what happened with Wallis Simpson and the King, the Duke of Windsor. He became the Duke of Windsor after he resigned from being the king. And this is reminiscent of that event. An American woman involved with royalty. And it just didn't work. They want privacy, and it's difficult to obtain that when they are the object of the paparazzi everywhere in England. Well, on that note, we want to say thank you. Agradecemos su sintonía en el día de hoy. Aquí en USA la Media, la Mesa Redonda, The Round Table, les habló Fernando Méndez, Niall Jacks at the board. Los esperamos hasta la próxima.